Chris from MyMMAnews.com, being joined by Noah Cutter, who is going to take Kaleb Harris on at BKFC16, going down at Biloxi, Mississippi. You don't want to miss this one, but I'm being joined by my man now, Noah Cutter. Noah, how are you, my friend?
Good. How's it going, man?
I'm doing great, man. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Obviously, you're out in the lovely natures in the wilderness, so I won't try and keep you that long. But
no problem.
First and foremost, man, this bout coming together, what do you think about the matchup in itself, you versus Kaleb?
Oh, I think it's a great matchup. I think that stylistically we're a perfect matchup for each other. You know, we both like to move forward, like to try to finish the fight, and pretty similar in height and weight. I think I'm probably going to be a little bigger than he is, but yeah, it's just the perfect matchup stylistically. You know, both guys aren't backing down. We both move forward, and we're both looking for the knockout.
So this is your third bare knuckle bout. What adjustments have you made transitioning from MMA to bare knuckle that has been just cut and dry, night and day, that's been added to your arsenal? Because, I mean, bare knuckle is a different animal. I was talking to Elvin Brito the other day, and just had the pulling the punches, the being able to not able to go 100% in order to break your weapons. I mean, the transition between glove to no glove, it's crazy. Can you talk about your transition?
Yeah, for me, the main thing is my stance and things like that. I always did martial arts. I'm more of a kickboxing style MMA fighter, and obviously when you're throwing kicks and doing things like that, the hands kind of tend to come out a little further, tend to keep them down a little bit. You know, when you're blocking for kicks and things like that, it's a little different. So as soon as I did my first fight, I started going to a boxing gym. My first fight, I went there for 1 month. The fight in Miami was 3 months, and this fight with Kaleb's going to be 6 months at my conventional boxing gym. And the main thing that I've been learning is more of a bladed stance, basically more of the transition from kickboxing style to boxing style. So more of a bladed stance, keeping the hands way up, you know, keeping a high guard, different things like that. For me, for some people, you know, they change up the style of punches and different things like that. I personally have done hand conditioning my whole career. Ever since I would start amateur MMA, I always try to condition my hands, and I can punch someone with 100% power in BKFC with no glove on, and I've never even had inflammation in my hand. I've only gone up to 2.5 rounds, but I've dropped the guys a lot in bare knuckle, and I've never had any, not even swelling in my hand. So I can hit guys with 100% power and turn my punches over just like how I normally do if I were doing MMA, and not worry about breaking my weapons.
Can you talk about some of the conditioning that you do for your hands? Because everybody that I've interviewed in BKFC has mentioned the hands and the aftermath of what they deal with the inflammation, the pain, the breaks. And here you are saying the polar opposite. You can go 100% and not feel a thing. What's the conditioning that you go through?
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't understand why that is in bare knuckle. You know, it doesn't make any sense to me at all. It's just like doing MMA, you know, and not conditioning your shins. If you're a pro fighter and you don't condition your shins, and you go out there and do a pro MMA match and kickbox with somebody and kick a guy in his knees and different things like that, then your shins are going to probably hurt because you didn't take the time to condition them. You just get in there and damage them. Whereas if you build your shin conditioning over time, hitting the bags, you know, different things like that you could do for your legs, and that wouldn't happen to your legs. So it's the same thing with your hands from bare knuckle. You know, instead of just going in there, wrapping your hands up with boxing wraps and gloves all the time, and then taking gloves off and going in there and fighting one time with bare hands and breaking your hands or getting them inflamed, hairline fractures, different things like that, instead of conditioning them over time. I like to do bare knuckle. I do knuckle push-ups, bouncing knuckle push-ups. Sometimes I won't wrap my hands underneath my gloves to make them have to get that little bit of extra support to them. Sometimes I'll just wrap my hands and not wear gloves and hit the bag, just from little pitter patter work to full on hitting as hard as I can. But I noticed that by doing a little bit over time every day, it sucks. That's the other thing about it. It's not fun. Nobody wants to do bare knuckle push-ups on concrete. Nobody wants to, kick tires with their shins until they're sore. But when you do that ahead of time, then you don't have to worry about it during the fight. So I don't know why more people, I've seen a couple people do little things for their hand conditioning that are BKFC fighters, but why it's not a more common thing, I don't know, because right now it seems like the most common thing is everybody breaking their hands.
Man, I've never heard that side of the story, so I'm just so intrigued. It almost reminds me of, like you were saying, in kickboxing, when Muay Thai fighters or even kickboxers, when they check a leg kick. If you've never checked that bone on bone in the shin, you're in for a bad night, man. And I mean, I guess it equates over to the same thing with bare knuckles, what you're getting at, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Conditioning is basically just beating down over time to make it more resilient. You know what I mean? That's the thing. I've even made the mistake too. I've gone into the gym. It's like, all right, I'm going to do some bare knuckle conditioning today. Don't wrap my hands and then go hit the bag, beat the shit out of the bag, get your hands all sore, and then you can't do nothing for 3 days. It's like, no, go in there a little bit every day, hit the bag a little bit, do your knuckle push-ups every day. And that, it's like the force of impact in your hand, not only that, but the stability in your wrists and things like that is what's actually going to keep you from not breaking your hands. Also, the precision of your punches.
Couldn't agree more, man. That was such an interesting take, and I appreciate you sharing that, because I do feel like a lot of bare knuckle fighters could take away from that, because like you said, not many are doing it right now. But moving on, where do you think in this fight, where do you think that you're better than Kaleb? Because obviously you're not coming in this bout to lose. Where do you think you beat him?
I think where I beat him is going to be with the power. I think honestly, before, I would say that he had a little bit better conditioning and better cardio, so that his best chance would be to try to drag it out and try to drag it into the later rounds and get me tired. And that's pretty much what happened in my last fight. So I know everybody's watching that and kind of like saying, oh, Noah gets tired at 2.5 rounds into the fight. But it's going to be totally different. I've been working my conditioning and I've been working my technique a lot different to keep that from happening. So I think where, for one, I think I'm more powerful, more strong, but I also want to be just as fast and explosive. And I think I just have the better technique as well.
And I want to talk about staying active during the pandemic. You've been able to capture multiple fights, whereas some have taken the time off. Some have not been able to take as many fights. BKFC has been doing some big things during the pandemic. Can you talk about what it means to you as a professional athlete to be able to stay active in such a, for lack of better words, shitty time?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really actually a blessing. I was just talking about it not that long ago with somebody because without getting into too much details, I almost didn't fight on the card. I was supposed to fight someone else, and the fight got pulled and moved to a later date. And to stay on the card, I was just like, well, who is available in Biloxi? And they're like, well, Kaleb at 165 might need somebody. And I said, well, line it up. I'll do it. You know what I'm saying? Like Louis Palomino said, hungry mouth or quiet mouths don't eat around here. But in that time in between, where before I got the fight with Kaleb and the other fight had got pushed back, I was kind of down in the dumps because I wanted to fight, obviously. And I was like, oh man, now we can't. But I told somebody, I was like, as upset as I am that I might not be fighting, this is going to be my third bare knuckle fight in 6 months. So in 6 months, I've done 3 professional fights for bare knuckle, 1 for Toe the Line, 2 for BKFC. And there's some guys out there that haven't fought for over a year. There's some guys that missed all of last year completely just out the window because of things like COVID and traveling restrictions and all these different things. So yes, absolutely. I'm getting to do and I don't know about a record or anything like that. I got to do some more in the next 6 months, but 3 BKFC fights in 6 months is pretty good. So as an athlete, I'm very happy that I'm getting to stay so active, and I feel for everybody, all the athletes out there that aren't getting to compete right now because of COVID restrictions and different things like that, man.
Do you think you're going to match your next 6 months with another 3 fights?
Yeah, that's the goal.
That's the
goal.
goal.
Do 6 BKFC.
So you want to put the record in the BKFC books?
Yeah, I want to do 6 bare knuckle fights in a year, you know, from when I started, which would have been September of last year, I think.
Oh man, so you and Kaleb, it's going down very soon. BKFC16. It wasn't supposed to happen, but it is going down. What's your prediction?
I'm looking to knock him out in spectacular fashion and get knockout of the year, because what I've been saying is, you know, he's got the knockout of the year 2021. So if I go in there and knock Kaleb out in spectacular fashion, then I'm at least going to be in the vote for knockout of the year, you know, or I'm sorry, he has 2019. So I'll be in the vote for 2021 if I knock him out.
And do you think that you found your niche per se? Because again, you transitioned from MMA, you're a former kickboxer. Do you think you found your niche now, your combat sport in bare knuckle fighting?
Oh, absolutely. You know, anybody that knows about my MMA career or record knows that I've been subbed a lot. You know, I'm a kickboxer, and so the jiu-jitsu and wrestling training is where I was really lacking and kind of just never really able to I can go places to train it, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot more difficult. You know, a lot of times I have to go for an hour away sometimes. And not to make excuses, but I just suck at jiu-jitsu and MMA, you know what I mean? And kickboxing is where it's at. So now if I didn't do bare knuckle, I would probably try to go back to, I'd try to do a professional kickboxing or professional boxing, because striking is more up my alley, and bare knuckle boxing is like, just everyone who talks to me is like, yeah, you do. Oh, that's perfect for you. Like that is, unless you were throwing kicks, there's nothing much really right up my alley than striking. And now that I'm not throwing kicks, because kicks were actually what I was known for when I would strike, you know, kickbox, everybody told me my kicks were the worst thing out of the fight. So now that I'm taking the kicks out of it and working my hands more, it's just, this is going to be perfect for me, man. And I can easily see, you know, I'm 31 now. I can easily see finishing out my career with BKFC and be completely happy, and not try to go back to MMA or try to get in UFC or Bellator or any of this kind of shit, and just finish at BKFC, especially depending on how things go.
So looking to take him out, looking for the knockout against Kaleb Harris, man. Noah Cutter, I cannot thank you enough for joining me today. What about your sponsors? What about your social media? How can fans keep up with you for your next big fights? Anything in the future? Go ahead.
Yeah, so for my social media, please follow me on Instagram at Noah S. Cutter. I have a Facebook page as well, but it's kind of more of a fan Facebook page run by the managers, but you can follow me there on Facebook too, Noah Cutter. And I want to say shout out to GOAT Combat Agency. You know what I'm saying? They're the ones helping me out, making all these dreams happen, really. And I want to say shout out to my sponsors. Let me see if I can remember everybody without a list on hand. Fusion CBD, first of all, you know, they work with BKFC. They're great. Turp House Clear, they're my cart guys. Training is Ritual, my apparel guys, and he's making my walkout shirts, so be sure to check them out. Let's see, Mako Tech does my mouth guard. Red Level Tattoo does my tattoos, and Mary Jane's House of Glass, and also Wyatt and Martin Tax Services here in Fort Walton Beach is also just picked up a sponsorship. So big thanks to all those folks for helping me out and helping me train.
All right, there you have it. Follow the man, watch him fight at BKFC16. Noah Cutter, thank you for joining me, my friend. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, sir. Y'all have a good one.
There he goes. Noah Cutter's taking on Kaleb Harris at BKFC16 going down in Biloxi, Mississippi, just a few weeks away. You don't want to miss this fight. For Noah Cutter, I am Adam Christ. Make sure you keep it locked to mymmanews.com for all your fight news needs.